Well, welcome YouTubers, thanks for checking out my small little video on how to enable your Dreamcast games to feature widescreen mode. Now this has been going for quite a while, but I thought I'd do a dedicated video for this because I do find it quite fascinating and trying to update your games and making them look even better on your HD screens. So first things first, you want to head over to the website retro-manic.de. I believe it's a German website, but Google Translate just clears that all up really nicely. There may be some other sources to get these patches, but this is the one I used. So I got this website now minimized, and here is my file, my folder of Grandia 2. This is a GDI file format, so that's my download, and now I'm going to head back to the website and look for the widescreen codes. So you have to manually input the codes from the game ISO image. So I have to head over to the download section and download the HEX code editor. Now there are other code editor programs, but this is what they recommend. So once you got that downloaded, give it an install, pretty simple, and give it an open. So that's just a previous file, ignore that all those numbers there, that wouldn't happen when you first actually open it yourself. So I want to drag the number track 3 from the GDI files. So I'm going to drag that, and then here are all the codes available. So don't get too scared or bombarded by all that. It is pretty simple to do this. So here are all the codes for every game that they're available to unlock the widescreen feature on there. So I just tracked down Grandia, which is the PAL version. So this is the game that was only released in the PAL zone, so this code will only work in there. So the first code, I'm going to copy this. Now it says to find. So I'm going to track down this code now with this software, and I'm going to find it first within this track number 3. It's very rare that you can find these widescreen patches only working in track 1, 2 or 4, but most commonly with all your GDI Dreamcast games it will be found in track 3. So brilliant, we've found this now. So now that we've got the code, we want to replace it. So to do this, we want to search and replace. We want to make sure you're in the hex value of the search and make sure you've got it selected on all. Then we want to highlight the replace code. So we got the search for the find, and then at the bottom we got the replacement code. Press OK, and it will also search for it and then replace it. That's it, that's the first step done and dusted. So now you want to repeat this method as what's instructed on this website. So we got our second code. So we want to highlight the find, put that in search for, and then put the replacement code then into the replace. So we're still on hex value, and we want to make sure it's selected on all. Press OK, and there it is. That's the second code. So for this game, for instance, for Grandia 2, there's a fair few. There's about 6 or 8 type of codes here we want to replace. In other games, this is simply just one type of line you want to replace. So when that is done, you want to make sure that you've got all the codes replaced, and then we want to file and save this. So this will then save a backup of your track number 3, which hasn't been edited, and then we got a backup one in case you want to end up going back to there. That will be in the same folder as your game. As you can see at the bottom there, it does say back at the end of track 3. So we can either just put that aside, and now we've got our widescreen enabled Grandia 2. You can always then convert this GDI file to a CDI file, so then you can burn this image to disk and this should be absolutely fine. But here I'm just adding it now to my GDEMU menu, so it's a bit simple, I don't have to waste any disks. So now by giving you an example now of what the widescreen does actually affect with the games, the results do vary with different titles. So here's a few examples of what widescreen looks like. So once we got the game booted up, you will see that nothing much has changed, as it's still keeping that 4:3 ratio but stretching it by 16:9. So we're stretching the 4:3 ratio, which is something that we don't want. So the actual code doesn't affect the entirety of the game. So you notice like the menu system and the options hasn't changed, but the difference is when you're actually into the gameplay itself. So as you can see here now, the 16:9 ratio is actually suited really nice, stretching this image. But it always depends on the actual way you've got your setup. So with me, I've got my VGA cable in my TV, and it hasn't given me that many options. It kind of gives me a full ratio, so it doesn't stretch the entire image. But with other TVs, like newer ones, you'll be able to get a 16:9, and this game will fill up pretty nicely. So now I will show you some still image captures. So this is the not widescreen modded game in the 4:3 ratio. And now let's head over to the widescreen, so you can see now more elements of the game are filling up the screen, which is what we want to see. But to actually get this to fill on your screen always depend on how your Dreamcast is set up and what settings you got on your TV to make sure this actually fills your entire screen. For my next example, let's head over to Jet Grind Radio. So this is a 4:3 ratio that we all remember. So now we're going to head over to a widescreen version with the patch enabled. So as you can see now, the entirety of the screen is filled with the 16:9 widescreen patch, and it looks pretty awesome with this game. Now this does vary, as I stated before, in different games, and it's not entitled to every game available on the Dreamcast. So let's head over to my last example for you, and that will be the classic Sonic Adventure. Now this does have a couple of problems, and you will find this with different games. So with this title, you can see now there's a wavy effect on the actual main menu interface. So when we compare this now to the original, you will see that there are actually no problems with this. So results can vary with each title, but to be honest, when I got a widescreen on this game, I was pretty excited, and it looks a lot better now, filling the entirety of the screen. It can affect with the movies as well within the game. They do fill up better on your screen, but again, it does depend on how well the codes can actually accept these games. These games weren't built in widescreen, so you will come across some problems with some pop-ups on the sides, but you can get some good results with certain games, and Sonic Adventure is one of them. So I'd just like to thank the guys behind retromagic.de for providing extra life to the Dreamcast scene. Now I know the 16:9 patches have been out for a while, but I've only recently got into this as I've got a level height HDMI Dreamcast cable that works on my HD TV, my 50-inch one, and I've got a 16:9 ratio that actually works rather than my VGA cable. So as always, if you like this video, hit that button. If you want to help and support this channel, click subscribe, leave your comments below, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.